Hello, good afternoon, and everyone, and welcome to another edition of the GAM Music in Depth. We call it the GAM Music in Depth, but again, we are looking into the creative sectors of the Gambia as an enabler for development. And by so doing, we probe into the artistic organizations and also the government of the Gambia and the copyright regime, which we intend to talk about today. We have with us this afternoon Mr. Essa Jallow, the interim president of the Collective Society of the Gambia. Mr. Jallow, welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you, Carl. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. Good morning. How is the Christmas celebrations in the Gambia? What is happening over there?
Well, as you know, it's December and it is time for some of the promoters' season of making money, and also for the making money season for the Senegalese artists. While Seka was around, I understand, and I understand it was a full house. That is what is happening right now, and other Gambian artists also are preparing for the events that are happening, mainly as supporting acts. I have not seen any Gambian artist who is a big act in any of the events yet. Probably it is there, but I have not seen it. Tomorrow we'll be seeing Baba Mal, Alpha Jodara, plus some other artists from the sub-region who are performing in the Fulbe Africa festival. With I think it's only Bobo Dimo that I have seen there also as somebody who is participating in that. So that's what's happening right now. Festive season for the promoters who are used to bringing big acts from other countries, and for the big acts that are coming from the sub-region to earn more money in Gambia in this period.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Yeah, you are talking about some interesting things there, like foreign artists making big time money in the Gambia during this period, and even Gambian entertainment companies. Yesterday, I was assumingly talking about some companies who are, organizing these festivals and what they are giving back to the Gambian people, like the creative sectors. Are you aware of that? Are you aware of any development that those promotion companies are doing for the creative sector players?
I am not aware of it, but I wouldn't be also because I don't know the dynamics. But I assume that anybody who is into that kind of a business must be registered and must be registered with the government agency that is responsible, which is the National Center for Arts and Culture, who I know would collect monies for performances of artists and local and foreign artists if they are organizing events. That way, that money is coming back to the Gambia. I don't know how or where that money is paid to, and how it is, where it's gone, whether it goes back to the artist or it just goes to government coffers, or it goes to NCAC budget. I'm not sure about that. But I also know is no matter what happens, some of these venue owners would make business. Q City will make business. Coco Ocean will make business because they'll be hiring their venues. They'll be hiring other people, Gambian people who will be working for them, security and all whatnot. People will be benefiting. But I think it should be greater than that. We know the entertainment industry is big everywhere in the world, and I think it should be an avenue that is supposed to be the biggest employment driver in this country. Looking at our Gambia, it is a very youthful population, and the creative industry is one sector that can employ these young people either directly or indirectly when these seasons come in, and that will avert the unemployment syndrome that we have in this country. I think these are things that we need to talk about, and so that we can see how best, because we know in Gambia the problem that we have here is because government is the major employer. And this is why a lot of people are out unemployed, because there is not much industry to employ Gambian people. For example, there are no more factories, no other types of industry. There are not many. So the creative sector is one area that can be a driver for that, because one big artist, make of other people around them, rich, and they that more employment in terms of when you call them for performances. The venues benefit, the venues would hire other people to work with, the vendors will come and sell. So it's a reverberation of income coming in, and then The radios, the newspapers, the promoters all benefit because what they would indirectly be employed in terms of promotion and broadcasting of these things. So it's a cycle, I think, that we should nurture and see it as one area that could solve the unemployment in this country.
All right. Mr. Jallow, thank you so much. And I must say, I am so glad that you are talking that way, because that is what we are pretty much looking into, the various areas in the creative industries where we could be able to enhance on to be able to develop and also encourage employment that you are talking about. And you were talking about some indicators with regards to registration of the various performances that are happening in the December period. And you are saying you are aware of the fact that payments are done, but you don't know exactly where those payments are going to. Um, uh, as the interim president of the Collecting Society of the Gambia, do you think some of those registrations should be known by your office?
Yeah, I believe so. Every Gambian should know because it's a right of every Gambian to know where the country is making money and where that money is going to. So, as part of the industry that is very close to this, who is a participant in this, we need to know because this is generated by our industry, and we need to be clear that this is what we contribute to the GDP of the country, and by doing that is in return coming back to us as an industry. So that is a fact that everybody needs to know about it.
Okay. But do you know, like, if a foreign artist is coming to the Gambia, like the Collecting Society of the Gambia, are you aware that do you know exactly how many monies that they are paying to the National Center for Arts and Culture as performance fees?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to guess. I had figures, but I'm not too sure because I have not seen real indicators written to say this is what they pay. I know monies are being paid, but I can't put a figure to it.
Okay, so we will come to that. But again, can you be able to tell us the status of the Collecting Society of the Gambia, and what are some of the engagements that you are doing right now as we are speaking to you?
The Collecting Society of the Gambia breathing, but it
Mm-hmm.
is on a life support system.
Okay.
The reason I have said that, if you look at the Copyright Act was enacted in 2004, right?
Mm-hmm.
And here we are in 2022 going into 2023. Not a single dime has been collected on behalf of artists. So if you say that society is moving, then I would wonder how. It is existing, and existing and living are two different things. So the society is
Yeah.
existing, but it isn't living. This
Okay.
is because there are a lot of things that are responsible for that. In my opinion, I think when
Mm-hmm.
the act came, there are a lot of deficiencies in it, the way it is, because it is not clear who is supposed to set the ball rolling for the collecting society to start doing something. In a sense, no, there's nowhere indicated where the collecting society is supposed to get its initial funding. So it's like the collecting society is asked to look for its own funding and start working. Simply, I think this
Mm-hmm.
idea is simply because the creative sector is seen as a business industry, so they should be able to invest in their own business and they can start. I think which was a problem, and this is why still we cannot start. If you look at it, the entire Copyright Act has about three components. I think one is the Copyright Office, which they have clearly
Mm-hmm.
instituted, and they put it under the Ministry of Culture, with an office with somebody responsible for it, paid for everything, and then they put the Intellectual Property Office into the Ministry of Justice.
Mm-hmm.
Understandable because there are legal issues about it that talks about intellectual property, patents, trademarks, and stuff like that. That is under the Ministry
Mm-hmm.
of Justice with a bunch of lawyers looking after it being paid. Even where they go out, attend conferences on our behalf, being paid for all of that. And then the collecting society, which is supposed to be generating income, has not been taken care of. It's nowhere seen where they said this is where your money is going. So they said, okay, the creative sector come together, send in representatives, elect a chairman or a president, and then you look after yourself. And then it is indicated that we need to have a secretariat. And in that secretariat, we need to have an executive secretary who is going to be paid. You imagine
Mhm.
somebody who is supposed to be responsible for collecting royalties for an entire country as an executive secretary. That is not a small position, isn't it? So where are we
Exactly.
going to get the money to pay that individual? And if that individual is going to sit in an office, he definitely is not going to sit there alone. He has to have an accountant, he has to have an administrative officer, he has to have a messenger, and all the office things. Minimum 5 people need to work in that office to make it start. So if you have that
Mhm.
kind of a task, you do not have a single butut in your account. You're telling the creative industry, oh, you fund it, or try to look for fund elsewhere. How many of these creative industries, as an association, get the kind of money to do that? None of them. You know, the richest one is the Writers Association. Even the Writers Association cannot fund 1% of what this collecting society actually requires. You know, talk less of the
Mhm.
other ones that are there. You see, so
Okay.
I think they have not seen this thing as a serious business per se, because what is happening now, the country is also losing in revenue. You know, they're running after
Exactly.
small businesses all over the country, you know, asking them to pay up or they close them down. And then they are seeing this area and revenue is dripping out and nobody cares about it, even though a lot of noise is being made about it. So this is the problem. For me, this is how I've seen it. The second part is it is inconceivable, you know, for people to sit there and believe that somebody will spend his time, money, and resources to create something, and that person should do that free of charge, not expecting any pay out of it. And this is what we are saying. If I sit in my corner, make my film, and then that film goes out, people just access it and then watch it for free or use it for free, and I don't get out of that. That's inconceivable. Because right now I am working in an office, they are paying me for thinking, strategizing, creating, and doing everything. And that's what they're paying me for. And that's exactly what the artist, the creative sector is doing. You sit in your corner, you think of a song, you write the lyrics,
Mhm.
you create the rhythm, you do everything, you finish, you use your electricity, you use your time, you even pay other people to do other stuff for you. And then you create it, throw it out in public there, and then people consume that and not paying back. You see, that is
Exactly.
a problem, you know.
Mhm.
And then our broadcast industry is not being made aware of that. Now if you open up a broadcast institution, say for example you have a radio, you're expected to play content in it, because it is you
Mhm.
who have decided to set up a radio, and you say either your job is to entertain only or your job is to inform, educate, and entertain. Well, how do you
Mhm.
do that? That means you have to have content in your broadcast institution, so that you can provide that information to the people or that entertainment to the people. And who is involved in
Exactly.
creating that content is somebody. So that person is supposed to be paid for his labor. So it's as simple as that. So, but then I cannot open up a radio station, play Carl Banja's music, they open now, and people enjoying it, and I employ somebody who sits there claiming to be the big daddy, the most famous person entertaining people, and then Carl Banja doesn't receive a dime out of that. And I make my radio very popular all over the place. So that is unfair. So this is what people need to understand, and this is what the broadcast industry need to understand. So there's a lot of things that we need to do to make this thing work. One, we need to educate ourselves first, the artists, because the
Mhm.
artists internally themselves don't understand this issue. Because now, if I say now, if we once people hear about collecting royalties that radio stations and television need to pay for the content that they play, other people will say, okay, well, if they are asked to pay, they're actually only promoting them, then they are going to promote other people. So that is insane, you know.
Yeah.
So other people, the artist might also feel, oh, okay, because Carl Banja is more popular than me, my music will not end up being played. If they are going to pay for it, they may play Carl Banja's music because it's better than mine. So for me to get promotion, let me offer my content free of charge. So that is also a no-go area. So you say we will tackle all of these things, but it has to go step by step. You know, since I
Mhm.
took over as interim president, these are the challenges. But the biggest challenge that we have is government. You know,
Mhm.
government, in terms of their representative, the NCAC, I think they should have been the people who are the brains for the government in the creative sector to tell government this is what needs to be done. And since
So what is
2004 to now, nothing has
actually,
been done.
if I can come in there, what is actually the thing that you are saying that the problem is the government?
The government need to subvent the collecting society so that they can start an office. All right. The government need to put in the proper legislation so that the collection society can operate. For example, the government needs to, in its arm that is responsible for licensing all broadcasts, for example, Pura need to work with the CSG so that they will be able to put all these broadcast organizations to be able to pay royalties because they need to be monitored. If you don't monitor them, they're not going to pay up. How can we do that? Number one, Pura knows every Tom, Dick, and Harry that has a license in the country, and every broadcast institution in the country, every content user in this country will have to pay their licenses at the end of every year. All right, there are requirements that they need to fulfill. Number one, in their requirements, I know that they are telling all broadcasters that you need to play 70% of Gambian content. That is not being done. Pura has
Yeah,
no way
exactly.
of monitoring that. All right, Pura
Yeah.
has no way of monitoring that. That they need to help Pura to have a tracking device that is going to be doing that. Number two, by doing so, with government itself saying that there should be a collecting society, so that means they are acknowledging that artists need to be paid their content. So that means how are they going to do that? That means CSG and Pura need to collaborate and have a tracking device whereby they would know each and every institution when they play music, how much of that music is being played, and the artist is going to be paid duly as it is. So that needs to be done. Government needs to help us in that, and all the other regulations that are there. Now, if that happens, the artists, the content providers, that means the artists, and the end users also need to be educated. Know that this is a right. You know, so the artist is working. It is his labor right to be paid what he's done. Nobody will go to an office, you work day from one day and you don't pay. We'll hear a lot of noise. We hear every time people are crying for pay rise and all whatnot. And we know that people who work in the formal sector, they have what they call their social security. At the end of the day, paid pension. The artists who work independently don't have that, so their social security, their pension scheme is their royalties. So that is it. So that needs to be, and then people need to understand also to say that, okay, I'm not going to play the local content, I'm just going to play international content, so I don't pay. That is not a no-go area. Because
Yeah,
there's going to be reciprocal agreement. Yeah, the the CSG and others. And so these are things. So we need to understand these things globally. So we take it step by step and make sure that this thing works. And we also need to orient the
yeah,
artists that it is not that. Yeah.
but if I may come there, like we need to take it step by step. But you yourself confirm it here that since 2005 up to 2023, we are going to 2023. We are still struggling
Yes.
about these things of just a subvention from the government. The government rightfully
Mm-hmm.
indicated in the Copyright Act there should be a CSG, and it should comprise of the artistic organizations. There should be an
Mm-hmm.
executive secretary who should
Mm-hmm.
also have staffs to run the
Yes.
secretariat of the collective society of the Gambia. So why is it that the government is not putting more importance into putting that investment into that institution to ensure that they could be able to fully implement the copyright law in the Gambia? That is the
I wouldn't be
that is
able.
the question.
I wouldn't know what. I wouldn't know what is in the mind of government. But let me tell you this. I kept wondering about that. So what I have done when I came in as an interim president of CSG, because also I have heard that
Mhm.
the NCAC or the Minister of Tourism had presented 3 cabinet papers about the
Okay.
CSG, and all 3 cabinet papers were rejected. I don't know how true that was. But when I heard it, I was worried. I said, okay, now what we need to do, we need to meet the minister, then, because that means the minister knows the importance, and that is why he is putting this thing forward to the cabinet. So now,
Mhm.
what is the minister not telling his colleagues? How is he not being able to convince his colleagues? So these three are. I'm not confirming that this is true, but this is what I
Mhm.
was told. Let me clear
Mhm.
that. I'm not saying that that has
Yeah.
happened. So when
No,
that thing happened, so I
I
said,
was
okay,
also tipped. I was also tipped equally that a cabinet paper was sent,
okay,
and that was marrying intellectual property and copyright. But then that was not done because it was rejected. Yeah. So that
okay.
one I know.
Okay, there are a lot of issues around that. Probably we'll talk, if Sanna was here, it was going to be easy for us to talk about that because I don't know the nitty gritty.
Yeah.
I know that I have come across a lot of documents and there are a lot of conflicting issues around. All right,
Hmm.
but with this event, so when we decided, we said, oh, let's meet the minister. So my
Hmm.
question was going to be this: did you present 3 cabinet papers to cabinet and they were rejected? If we are yes, I said, okay, now let us help each other. Now let us come together so we tell you the things that would convince your colleagues to know that this
Hmm.
thing is so important so they don't reject it next time. Because already we've one of our problems is solved. You have our backing. And this is why you take it to the cabinet. So for him, it is not a
Yeah.
problem. For me, it is his colleagues now. How do we convince them to tell them that look, this is a right and this is a good thing for the country as well. And it's a good thing for the creative industry. So when I went to meet him, when we arrived, we sat and then we introduced. Immediately, I introduced myself and the association. The first thing he told me, "Do you have a subvention?" I said, "No." He said, "Why?" I said, "I don't know." So I said to him, "Well, this thing is around since 2004 and nothing has been done." He said, "Yes, I'm aware of that." He said to me, "I was part of the parliamentarians who enacted this act." So you see, so he's aware. So he said to me, he picked up the telephone, and called the NCAC and asked a few questions, and they had a few conversations. And he told me, "Look, we are going to put this thing in the next budget. You are going to have a subvention." So for me now, I need not ask other questions because what I was going to is to ask for a subvention. So once he has said
Okay.
that, I said, okay, now I'll reserve this stuff and I'll take it. I'll take his word for it, and then wait. But he
Hmm.
also told me that we need to be reminding, we need to consult because we don't consult with him. I said, fine, I'll try to consult with you all the time. So that is where we are. And then they put me in a national organizing committee for the bicentennial celebration of Janjambure. And I went to attend
Hmm.
that inaugural meeting. He was there. When he saw me, he called me by my name and remembered that I am the interim president of the CSG. So that means he remembers. Because prior to
Okay.
me going to his office, he knows me as Issa Jallow at GRTS. But there he
Yeah.
saw me and he addressed me as a CSG person. So that means he
Yes.
knows. So I need not say anything again. So you see, because
Exactly.
we need to work this thing out, orderly. It
Yeah.
is not a confrontation. This is something that we all are going to benefit because when we start collecting royalties, the musicians will start paying tax through that, and through that, government also going to benefit. And the
Yeah.
GDP
They want to
increases,
have
and the politicians will go out,
added tax
and the politicians
now.
will go out there, and they can, yes. So we can tell them that right now we have 100 musicians who are generating that amount of money, and they can go and tell their political platform, this is what we have created. So you see,
Yeah.
so it is a win-win situation for all of us, and this is what I had told the NCAC before. If you help us yourself, if you make us succeed, you succeed because at the end of the day, you are going to put the report in front of government to tell them this is what we have achieved, our achievement. If I make a film and that film goes to a festival and that film
But
wins an award,
Uncle Esa,
yes,
Uncle Esa,
uh-huh.
I want to make this very interactive because I mean
Okay.
it's good that you are breaking the iceberg and you are telling us informations that a lot of people are interested to know, and some of
Mm-hmm.
these things we will talk about it. But I mean people like you talking about it is more
Mm-hmm.
important. Now,
Mm-hmm.
don't you think there is a conflict of interest because NCAC, the Collecting Society of the Gambia, when they are up and running, like all collections, like the
Mm-hmm.
money, like the big thing, the money, the cake is coming from the CSG, not from NCAC. Don't you think that that is
Mm-hmm.
what is in them at this moment?
No, I don't know. You see, I'll treat them as the office, not as individuals. You see, I wouldn't
Yeah,
judge the NCAC with the individuals. I'll judge it as the office. The money that is going to come
exactly.
into the CSG belongs to the artist. So what doesn't belong to you? Why do you care about? It belongs to the artist, so they are
Exactly.
supposed to get it. So that's the thing. So for them, they are being asked to do a job, and they are
Mhm.
being paid to do that job, and they have a role to play. And even though if millions come into the CSG, they can proudly sit down there and say, "We created the CSG. We helped the
Mhm.
CSG." All
Mhm.
right. And
Mhm.
because of that, we
Mhm.
are requesting for more things so that we can do X, Y, and Z. And the office will flourish. That is their job. The job of the CSG is to collect monies on behalf of the artist. The artist's job is to create something and get paid. Simple. So if something that doesn't belong to you, why do you care that somebody is working and earning money? So you
No,
also
but
work
we
and
are
earn
having
money.
the
If you don't
same.
want that, be an artist.
Yeah, it's we are having the same because when you look at the
Mhm.
tourism board, you know you have the tourism
Mhm.
strategy, and you also have the Tourism Act. Equally,
Mm-hmm.
you have the Copyright Act, and then you also have the National Center for Arts and Culture. But now, for them
Yes.
to implement the Tourism Act and the strategy, they have the Tourism Board to do that with the ministry.
Mm-hmm.
So I think
Mm-hmm.
NCAC don't want to leave you like the CSG. They don't want you to be free, autonomous, like, and do what you have to do, because the collections are done by the GTB board, not the ministry, not NCAC. And equally,
Yeah.
it's the same as the artistic associations, because it's just the same in the creative sector. So you have the NCAC with the enforcement of the law, which is the act and the tourism and the culture strategy. But again, you have the CSG who is doing the implementation equally with them.
Mm-hmm.
So they should be working with and for the
Mm-hmm.
artists. It is not like
Mm-hmm.
working together, but working with and for the
Mm-hmm.
artists.
Mm-hmm.
That is how I am seeing it. What do you think?
Yeah, that's why I said I do not want to treat the NCAC like the individuals I know. I want to treat it like an office. This is why I said that. Now, the
Hmm.
act is very clear. The NCAC Act also is very clear. There's nowhere in the NCAC Act why it gives NCAC powers to collect royalties. All right? The Copyright Act
Hmm.
clearly empowers the CSG to collect royalties. The
Yes.
NCAC office denying CSG collect deliberately. They will not make that open officially. If they do, then they are breaking the law. So you see,
Hmm.
the NCAC will never do that officially to say, okay, no, we are holding on to this, that, that. They will never do that. Because if they do that, that means they are breaking the law. Because the law clearly states that collection of royalties is under the purview of the CSG. And they
So,
have
but
stipulated how the CSG is supposed to perform.
why are they trying to bring systems to be able to? Because the systems that Gambia can get from WIPO, I have an intel that they are trying to work something together with WIPO to get those systems. So, and those systems should be given to the CSG. Are you aware
Yeah,
of that?
I think this is why this is why Sanna is not here because I don't want to say anything that he knows and wouldn't be here to be able to defend. I can tell you exactly what
Okay.
happened. Sana, as the copyright officer, who is in direct contact with WIPO, because WIPO doesn't deal with the associations, WIPO deals with the
Association.
government. And
Hmm.
no, it doesn't deal with association directly, they deal with the government. And because WIPO
Yes.
is dealing with government, that means Sana is in direct contact with WIPO. Sana, as a copyright officer, requested for the WIPO Connect to be brought to the Gambia. All right?
Hmm.
So WIPO accepted that this thing is coming from the collecting society, from the CMOs. All right,
Hmm.
because the copyright officer has no business to do with the WIPO Connect software. WIPO Connect software is a data collection system for collection of royalties. Basically, that is
Hmm.
what it does. Maybe if it can that because of that data might also be used for other things. Maybe the NCAs would benefit from that. But the WIPO Connect is primarily for the use of the CMO. So when they did that, WIPO accepted it, and WIPO wanted to organize training for individuals who would be running this WIPO Connect system software. The NCAC
Exactly.
had gone beyond that. They have said that they went to a point that they had contacted Gamtrel to get a server in the country. All right. So I wasn't aware of all of this happening, and I was called to a meeting between myself, NCAC, the Director General, the Copyright Officer, and WIPO. So we had this
Hmm.
meeting, and in that meeting, I realized that well, this is what is happening. So I said to them, well, I think this WIPO connecting training it is not for the board members. I said to them, this thing is supposed to be for people who will be working for the CMO
The
and the
staff.
WIPO. Yes, yes. So the WIPO lady said yes. I said, but we do not have staff. So he said, but you requested for this. I said, no, I did not know about this. So that was a
So,
problem now in that meeting. I said, well, I don't know that this thing is coming. And if it is me or the CSG who is supposed to be running this, how comes I don't know that this is coming? But WIPO said you
wow.
who? And then it was confirmed that Sana requested it on that this thing is coming. So we had that little agreement, disagreement there. Then they said, okay, you have to go back and put your house in order and then you come back to us. So I had this meeting with with NCAC. I told Sanna Kelly, why did you request for this without me knowing if it is for me? But Sanna, in his head, believes that nothing has been moving and he wants to make things move. But I said to him, that is not my fault, not the fault of the CSG, that is the fault of NCAC.
Yeah,
So you
and the
cannot say
government
that,
of
you can't
Gambia.
accuse me of your, yeah. So now you are saying that it is because of us, the artists, that things are not moving. Now you are going to take things further and you're going to bring the YPO connect and training. But I said, it is not your job to call, even if you train, it is not your job to collect royalties. You cannot do that. So this is
Exactly.
where we had a problem. So when we had this confrontation, then there was this meeting that we were supposed to go and attend in Zimbabwe with YPO and
Mm-hmm.
Aripo. So we were supposed to
Mm-hmm.
go there as a team, and then to go there with the same strategy, with the same collective. I don't know how to say it. Agenda that we're going to sell to
Collective
WIPO.
agenda. Yeah.
So, but then
Mm-hmm.
it is very usual for CMOs and governments to be fighting at WIPO meetings, and NCAC is aware of that. So how are they aware of it? That means they know these things.
Yeah.
All right. So they said, okay, we
Mm-hmm.
don't want where incidents, where when the government says this, the CMO gets up and says no, because that has been happening. So we said, okay, we can go, and then we can go with the same agenda and we'll talk. So when we went in there, I had made sure WIPO to know that I don't have a secretariat. I don't have it. So if I don't have a secretariat, I cannot collect royalties, because I am just a representative of an artistic association. And tomorrow I can go to Congress and I'll be kicked out. Somebody else will come. So for
Mm-hmm.
me, I'm there at the policy level to coordinate stuff, but the staff should be there and they remain. They are supposed to be the expert who is supposed to be running this, because the artist will remain there. So this
Exactly.
was my point. So, but then they didn't want that. They wanted me to be diplomatic. I wasn't diplomatic. I made sure that WIPO understood that. So we had a resolution there, that the things that we are going to be doing. I said, okay, now we can come to a compromise. Now that you have started this process, fine. But we are going to, in fact, they suggest that we will co-host the WIPO Connect. Even though that for me is unacceptable, I had to accept it at this point in time. I said, okay, we can co-host it, because we are spending money on the server, and then already WIPO knows that you contacted WIPO for WIPO to come for this training. Now we will
Mm-hmm.
identify people, and that was why I contacted some of you people to see whether you're interested to be trained in this. All
Yeah.
right, but also I told them, now I have had a case. I have spoken to the guy, the CMO guy from Seychelles. It is one
Mm-hmm.
person who was running their CMO for quite a number of time before they do that. I said, okay, we can start with something like that. But I said, okay, NCAC provide us with the staff that we are going to pay. All
Exactly.
right. So that is the compromise. So they agreed that they are going to provide us with the staff who they are going to pay for that person to be the officer in charge, and then we can kick off things. So then we also drafted an MOU between us and the NCAC about this co-hosting thing. And then the government in an MOU, we looked at it. There are portions that we rejected. We want it to have an end period where NCAC is supposed to hand over everything to us. So we want that to be
Yeah.
included,
Mm-hmm.
and to be able to, continue, how to call it, renewing the agreement, or not renewing the agreement. So this is the compromise that we have done. So now
Okay.
they have agreed on no in certain terms that they are going to provide us with the staff. In fact, they have suggested, can you find us somebody to work? Okay, for that time, I say, okay, if you have someone you think you can run it and you're going to pay, fine. That is not my move. For me, I want somebody who is going to be under our supervision. They agreed.
Yeah.
We also have, we are now looking for an office. Recently, we wrote a letter to the Ministry of Tourism for them to pay for us an office. But then we need to provide an invoice, because what happened was the music union had an office in Caraba Avenue. And because their contract
Mm-hmm.
was expiring and they are not interested in continuing having that
That
office,
place.
they offered that office to us so we can take it. So we asked them to give us an invoice for that office, for us to present that to the Ministry of Tourism, for them to pay that office, so that we can have this guy to work in there. In fact, we are working with the copyright officer in this. So
Mm-hmm.
the letter has already been drafted, only the invoice that we want. But then unfortunately, the agreement between the music union and the property owner had expired and they cannot simply do transfer. That means we've lost that place. We're now looking for a new place if you know any that is strategic, and anybody who's
Yeah.
listening now, you can provide us with the
Close
invoice
to
so we can
economize.
present that to
Yeah.
the Ministry of Tourism. Yeah, so we can have an
Okay.
office, and this guy that NCAC is offering to us can be there, and then we can tell WIPO, okay, we are ready. Now these are the number of people that we want to be trained online, and if that training finishes, then they are going to come back physically here and then train the people who are there, and then we can start, we can kickstart it. This is why I said it is step by step. In the
Yeah.
meantime, we will be working on mapping our end users. I intend to talk to the GT board to talk to because all the hotels, the bars, the restaurants are under their purview for them to understand that this is happening and this is what is going to be done. I also intend to have
I
a
like
meeting
that
with
part.
Pura to map out.
Mhm.
Yes, to map out.
I like that
So
part.
my
The mapping
intention,
exercise. Yeah.
yes, we will do that. And then because what I was advised by this organization called, is it, I can't remember again, is it COSAPO or whatever, that I also need to provide a business strategy. I'm not an expert in that. I've seen a template. We will be working on that. So the agreement that we want that I intend to have with Pura, for example, there will be resistance. Number one, we will have to talk to government, mainly the Ministry of Information, under which the GRTS operate, to make sure the government is going to be the first people to comply.
Exactly.
Because if GRTS didn't comply, if government didn't comply, you cannot ask the private sector to comply. All right. So we'll go to the Minister of Information and we'll provide him with this information as well. But what we intend to do is to discuss with Pura to be a condition of renewal for your license to provide proof that you pay royalty should be a requirement. If you do not provide proof to Pura that you pay royalty, that means your license will not be renewed, and that means you're going to go off air. So this is what we intend to
Exactly.
discuss. I'm sorry, I'm putting this thing out before I even
No,
discuss
no,
with
no,
Pura,
no,
but
no.
this is
Now
my
you are
intention.
going to the figures, and I like it. I like the figures,
Yes,
and then this is what we are expecting because you are telling
this is
us
my
the various
intention.
indicators,
Yes.
which are the actual drivers for economic
Mhm.
rewards in the creative
Yes.
sectors, and that is very important. And the way you are passionate about it, and the way you are talking about it, I think we are on the right footing, Mr. Jallow.
Yeah, sure. We would want to do that. We would want to also talk to the GRA so we can share. They can we can share experience because this is collection of revenue. That is their business. They know that inside out, so they can help us how to
Yeah.
do that effectively. So we intend to do that. I don't know that the previous boards have visited all of these institutions, but it didn't come out to anything. I don't know what happened, but because sometimes there has to be some compromises. If we go into a strict confrontation, sometimes it wouldn't work. But we'll have to
No,
work
no,
our
no.
way bit by bit. But that doesn't mean that we are compromising core values. We are saying that, well, this is going to happen for now. These are the challenges. Let's work it out this way so that we can achieve all of us what we want. But you see, what I am not
Exactly.
going to compromise is to tell any institution that it is not your job to collect royalties. It is our royalties. If you want to interfere with that, we will take you to court because the act
Exactly.
clearly indicates that we can be sued and we can also
Can
sue.
be sued.
So
Yeah,
anybody who
exactly.
stands on our way, we will sue you. No
Exactly.
compromise about that. That is not me, but that is the CSG. So I cannot sit
Yeah.
there being a representative of that institution and somebody flouting or trampling on my rights, on the right of artists, and I sit there and just
But
watch
Essa,
just because I know Carl Banja say,
I must
okay,
be
let's maslaha.
honest. I must be
Mm-hmm.
honest with you, but your predecessors,
Uh-huh.
were very bold and strong like you. But at the end of the
Yes.
day, they lose the battle. Like the Sukai Bojans and the Ibrahim Asises and the Oliver Boj and all that, Alma Metal. These are strong people. They were also presidents of the collecting society, and because of some of the things that were not going right, and that was the reason why those people have to leave the collecting
Yeah.
society. Don't
That's,
you
you are
think
right. You see,
the
for
same
me,
situation will come to you as well?
I even Even myself, I wonder. I think I am the weakest among all the other leaders that came. I think I'm the weakest. But we might be different
Okay.
in the way we do things. We might be different in the way we do things. I will push until I know that I cannot go, but I will never keep quiet. But because the problem that we have is we don't know why those people got frustrated and left. We knew that they
Yeah.
just left. Some of them don't want to stoop too low, to go into some certain kind of confrontations, or they just thought that this is just a complete waste of time, let me leave, or they think that the artists themselves are not cooperating with us and things are not moving. So this is it, and that is an
Yeah,
element
but
because you
because
see, I remember,
Mhm.
uh-huh, I
No, I just
remember
wanted to
when
say,
my uh-huh,
when Sukai Pojang was the president, I could remember that fully. We had a training with ECOWAS Observatory, Copyright Observatory body, and then they
mm-hmm,
handed over some computers, and then all of a sudden, Anti Sukai could not be able to ascertain where those computers are. So that was like
mm-hmm.
a story I will not be able to say. And this is the problem because we don't talk about what actually happened to other people
Yeah,
and some of the things that were happening, with the creative sectors. And that is why the government is not even aware and they don't know some of these problems that are confronting us. And if we have people like
yeah,
you
but yeah,
talking and engaging them, I think this is very important.
yeah, I know there are a lot of challenges in sometimes pushing these things. You see, for me, if it were me, if I were in that position, and it is clearly that this institution, ECOWAS, whoever, has sent this equipment, and it is clearly stated that this is CSG material, and somebody didn't want to give it to me. If I have the means, I'll go to court. Simple. I'll
Yes.
go to court. I said, this is mine, and you're seizing it. Why? So we're going to go to court.
Mhm.
It's not because I know you, Carl Banja, you're working there, and after this thing we quarrel in public about this thing, and after when we socialize and we don't go ahead. That is not going to be the thing. The thing is my institution versus your institution. Your institution is trying to stop me from operating. My institution is going to sue your institution if I have the
Exactly.
means, because legal things also would cost money and all things. But I will use that avenue. So I wouldn't just sit there and then just let them do things, or physically to go there to a point of fighting, because something of that nature nearly happened where somebody had the key and whatever. I'm not going to give you the key. I need not go in there because this is not my father's computers. This belongs to the entire country. If the law says it is my
Okay.
job, if the person who bought it said bought it for us,
Mhm.
then I have right to go and claim it. If you don't want to get it, I'll use the law. I'll just go to say, well, we have had this thing. Here is the proof that this equipment come in for us to be used by us, and this person who has no business in what we do is holding on to them. We'll request for it. We'll do that. But like I
Okay.
said, the artist
All
also
right.
for the corporation.
Yeah.
Initially, before I came into as interim president, my predecessor, Dr. Chan Omar Bari, we had a meeting and we agreed that, okay, now let's take another avenue where we can ask the artist to help us start something, you know.
Exactly.
But that hit a brick wall. Artists were contacted, and some of them only a few of them responded to that. But what we were thinking at the time was to organize a big fundraising show where we are going to gather a lot of money to start as seed money. That may not be
No,
enough,
but
in fact,
no, but
to start something.
if I may come there,
Hmm.
Uncle Issa, in the
Hmm.
in the in the tourism and culture strategy, it is
Yes.
included that the Gambia should have what you call an excellent award and also
Hmm.
a national and arts festival. Um,
Hmm.
okay, what is stopping the National Center for Arts and Culture, which has formed all the artistic associations, and they are having the mandate because they can
Hmm.
just give a statement that is going to be like a mandate from the from the government and say, okay, you know what, we want government institutions in the Gambia to support a gala night that the National Center and the Ministry of Tourism and Culture are going to do so that they can generate money and support in the establishment of the collecting society. What is stopping the Gambia to do that? And we are doing that for the foreign artists. Individual Gambians
Yeah.
are doing that. They are doing gala night. Why is it that the CSG, not even the CSG, but the National Center for Arts and Culture to approach the artists and say, okay, let us make a national gala that is going to be coordinated by the Ministry and National Center for Arts and Culture, and invite any artist of the Gambia, and invite all the government, departments. Then we have the money
Yeah,
that we are looking.
yeah, I'm not sure whether the people at the NCAC are looking it in that angle or have the will to do that. But I was thinking squarely when we were there as CSG to find a way out. And this is why we wanted to
Hmm.
organize a fundraising show. And then we wanted to, because I understand the music, we are talking of a festival, GAM Fest or whatever. We thought of
Hmm.
merging some of these things. I can't remember fully, but we did contact a number of artists for this event. So what we had wanted to do is to even look at strategic venues where we know that we are going to get the numbers and we can generate this fund. Probably if we do a show, we get numbers, we move into do a gala, and then we continue until we get the funds. But the starting point is, if you want to organize a show, you must have capital. CSG has nothing.
Exactly.
That has nothing. So what we can do is the bulk of the how to call the spending might be
Hmm.
the artist fee if you want to, a number of artist fee. So we asking them to come on and then we start these things. Later on we still wanted to continue, and that how the proposal is still on board. We might approach some of them. My idea is,
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm going to approach them not for the artists to just play for us free of charge to raise funds. That is not fair. All right, because if we are calling ourselves people who are standing up for the artist to make sure the artist labor is paid, so we shouldn't use the artist for free. So
Exactly.
what I am thinking is
Exactly.
the artist should loan us their service. The artist
Hmm.
should loan us their service. We sign contracts. If you are charging us $10,000 for the performance, we say okay, that is going to be a loan between you and the CSG. So we do that, and then the other stakeholders where we can also take the service from them on loan, we do that in the creative sector, and then the rest we can do our marketing. Get people sell tables and all whatnot, and then when the money comes in, we transparently tell people this is what has been the expenditure and this is what we have, and that we are putting it in the
Hmm.
bank, and we are going to start that we are going to have an officer in charge to start. So while we do that,
Hmm.
we raise funds again. When we have the money to pay Banja his 10,000 back, we can do that straight away. If we don't have it, probably when we start collecting royalties, we'll have some money and we start paying back. That is the idea that I have. So whether it would work, I don't know. We're still trying to look for them. Not necessarily
Well,
all artists would perform, because that might not be that would be difficult to do. We'll have to find the big acts, the crowd who need them and pay them what they ask for, and
hmm.
negotiate for them to give us discount because this is for us, and then we
Yeah.
make sure that we
Yeah.
put up this foundation thing. But in the meantime, I'm still going to push in the government to find out. Now it's January, Mr. Ba, how about our subvention? So if
Yeah.
that, if it's there, then we know, and then I also intend to lobby the National Assembly Arts and Culture Committee to see what they can do as well, and put these things in front of them, or else we are in serious trouble, because nothing is happening for the artists, and it's been for a long time. And me watching
Hmm.
the artistic industry between 1995 thereabout to now, there has been a big leap.
Yeah.
At first, even in a simple restaurant, you cannot have 50 people attend a show. And now we are seeing people
Hmm.
filling stadiums and people filling Q City, until people are competing, about who is the biggest. So there has been
Cool.
a big improvement on the side of the artist. I remember
Yeah.
in the beginning, the kind of used to make. You look at them now, you
Hmm.
laugh at them, but that was what we were able to do at the time. Now you see the STSs and all these other people, the kind of videos they're
But
producing. The
Mr.
artistic
Jallow,
industry has grown.
if I may come in there, in the 2000s, I had to come with my brother, my cousin brother, Singate, to your office. You were invited for
Yes,
a speech giving ceremony in Bansang, and this
yes,
boy
yes,
was of, and you saw the talent in him, and you told him whenever you
yes,
are in the capital, make sure you come to my office. So
yes.
I can remember during that time you were in the Gamtel house, so we went to visit you, and you gave some
Yeah,
contacts to him and some CDs. That was like supporting
yeah,
him to get onto his music. That was when he came with the
yeah,
reconciliation, Gamcel's reconciliation, and then more
yeah,
message. I fully remember that. So
yeah.
I'm not surprised the way you are talking. You have this relationship with the creatives. Yeah.
Definitely. You see,
Anyway,
that was, yeah. I still talk to him. I'm seeing that now he's a big guy. He's doing wonders. I have to go and visit his studio. I remember
Yes.
at that time I approached Ndananbi production at the time, Ma Ibuseka,
Yeah.
at the time running
Mm-hmm.
Ndananbi, for to see whether we can do some recording. And then I realized that the money was just not affordable for me to do that. But then, we
Yeah.
ended up,
Exactly.
sharing contacts and doing stuff and all whatnot. So I did a
Yeah.
little thing that I could do,
No,
aside. But
I
I
can
need to give credit
remember
to
that
one part of job.
yeah.
Yeah, one part of job
We
was
have
there who
we
actually
have
was responsible for entertainment. Okay,
exactly.
okay, okay,
Exactly.
okay.
I fully remember that. And then my last words will be, if somebody have to help the
Mm-hmm.
collecting society of the Gambia, with all the informations that you tell us now, what are some
Mm-hmm.
of the three things that you think that we could be able to support the CSG of the Gambia to stand on its feet?
It depends on where you come from. If you
Mm-hmm.
are a big business operator, we would want to
Mm-hmm.
have some financial support, be it a
Mm-hmm.
loan, be it subvention, be it what. If you have equipment, we would need some, digital equipment to start up. Because you see where we are now, we have to jump, we have a big leap to do because we have
Mm-hmm.
a lot of content creators who are on the digital platforms,
Mm-hmm.
and these digital platforms also need to be, and this is why people who create content country are on YouTube, on Facebook, they are not being paid because there is
Mm-hmm.
no how to call it, copyright thing in this country. It is a pirate's paradise, you see.
Mm-hmm.
So that is
Yeah.
not happening there, so we cannot put pressure on YouTube to tell them, well, you are streaming in our country and our people are providing content in your platform, you need to pay them up, or else we can tell the
Mm-hmm.
government that they are not paying up and they can stop YouTube wouldn't like to hear that. The same thing as
Mm-hmm.
Facebook, Spotify. Imagine, even Spotify, I remember when I went to Zimbabwe, there's this organization that is formed, but because we have not started, we cannot be part of that organization. It is a digital platform where COSAPO, or is it COSAPO or whatever, of South Africa would help you to get into that. Cape Verde was the last to get in. Cape Verde at the time, the Spotify thought Cape Verde was a small market, and then they are not going to, put Cape Verde into their, list or whatever. And then these people put pressure on on Spotify, and they had included Cape Verde. So you see, if we start our of course in this country, not only the
And
musicians will benefit,
especially
even the other
with
content
the numbers
providers will
we are
benefit.
seeing. Yeah, and even the
Yes, all
numbers that
content.
we are seeing in the Gambia, the international artists coming to the Gambia, like you see
Mhm,
Jamaicans, you see Senegalese, you see Nigerians now, they are all coming into the Gambia. So those numbers is what YouTube and the Spotify you are talking about. Those are the things that they are looking into, and the identification
mhm,
of the platforms are there. You have radio stations, you have nightclubs, you have hotels, you have transport. Association, even the Transport Association of the Gambia, is a great deal of revenue that we can make with
mhm,
them through collaboration, because the music that they are
mhm,
playing on the commercial vehicles, that is all, that all have to pay royalties to the CSG.
mhm,
And if you talk about the
mhm,
border control officers that we are going to create, like an employment, the police department could be able to
mhm,
hire
mhm,
immigration officers who will be stationed at the airport and
mhm,
also at the border point to look into
mhm,
the digital devices that are coming into the country, and they can be carriers for creative contents, and there are some VAT
mhm,
payments that they have to do. There was a time I have to help Hakim of the Sons of Light to get some of his materials from the airport. They were charging him over $1 million Gambian dollars. A lot of people were trying to help him, so at the end of the day, we had to pay almost about 25,000 for him to get some of his instruments from the airport Korea. So there are all areas. These are all areas where the collecting society could be able to work with Pura and GRA to be able to collect these monies on behalf of the creative sectors. Maybe the government don't know about all those things, and that is why they are like
they know.
sleeping. We say it, yeah.
Carl, they know. You see, I'll tell you, the endowment fund, that is
Uh-huh.
exactly what it is meant to do. You see, and right now
Exactly.
they have started a consultation on that. That was supposed to be the work of where the endowment fund is going to collect money. And when
Exactly.
endowment fund collects money, right now people are thinking so narrowly about that. Okay, it will come, it will look like a big basket of money where people can come and then just access it and do their projects. But part of the money should also come to the CSG, whereby because
Hmm.
the artists need to be paid for that. They need to be
Hmm.
paid out of that endowment fund. So
Hmm.
let be a little percentage, even if it's going to be 1 or 2%, should come to the CSG as a supporting thing for the CSG, so the CSG can operate and artists can get paid. But that is exactly what the endowment fund is supposed. That has been in the regulation for so long, in the NCAC Act. So it has
Yeah,
not.
because I questioned Sek Omar some time ago when he came here about the endowment fund when it was introduced via Fatuma's job. And like to simplify it, I will always say we can call it like a artistic development fund, or we can say cultural
Yes.
development fund in the Gambia. And then you use this,
Mhm.
there should be just a board that is going to look into the applications of different artistic organizations and verify whether they meet the requirements that they are looking into, and they can give them a support fund that they could use to do more production. And then these
Mhm.
productions been protected and guided by the collecting society through registrations, give them the opportunity to enter into the international market. And as well, the creators, they have a return of revenue that they receive,
Mhm.
that keeps them surviving, and then keeps them working on their products all the time. So since time immemorial, we don't have that in the Gambia. So we have to bank into a consultant to tell us the idea. So
Yeah,
yes.
I think at least for now, for me, I'm looking at the positives now. Since now they have taken this initiative to look for
Uh-huh.
funding from UNESCO to start this consultation, so to guide us how do we do this. I don't actually know where that has. Yesterday, holding my AGM, the Film Producers Association, and had mentioned this there.
Mm-hmm.
That I don't know where exactly they are, but that it is an initiative that has started, because you see, it is not the current administration at NCAC that was there when this endowment fund thing, because when Fatma Joe was minister, it was a long time ago. So this is
Yeah.
a problem that has been inherited. So at least we give them
Yeah.
the credit for now for actually for initiating this consultation. Even though they could have done this a long time ago, because UNESCO have supported many initiatives, NCAC, they could have easily looked for funding for that to do that, to be able to do that. But for now, we just give them the credit and see where this thing is going to end. But we will be monitoring and we'll be asking
Yeah, but
questions as to where it is going to help.
my last question to you would be, I think you
Mhm.
are invited,
Mhm.
maybe probably as a member of the Collective Society of the Gambia. I read about the World
Mm.
Bank fund, which is a 68 million dollars, and for
Mhm.
tourism diversification and resilience in the Gambia project. And when I read the title
Mhm.
of the project, like when you talk about building resilience, it means that you are supporting the creative industries or the tourism sector to be more robust and then vibrant in the activities that they do. And by doing so, you cannot exclude culture out of that. So I was thinking, of all these problems that we are talking about, and you are applying for a fund like that, which the government knows very well they're going to have that because it is a multilateral cooperation with World Bank, they could have presented
Mhm.
an area that will include culture for building resilience of the tourism sector, and then they could have used those monies to enhance on the professional capabilities of the CSG, and also some of the things that they
Mhm.
are not doing, like the endowment funds and the things that they are saying. So that could have been included in that project. But I am very sure when those projects were even initiated, you were not aware. But in the launching, you were aware. Am I right?
Yes, I was invited to that launching because of these terminologies are so complex, and I am not very bureaucratic. I do not understand these things fully. I would need a clarification as to everything. But surely, I have seen people that I know in that room, and anytime I have the opportunity to see them, I'll ask questions as to how can the CSG, the creative sector at large, benefit from that thing. and then we see where there. But these are complex government things. When they say things on the surface, sometimes it's so complex that you, as an ordinary artist or as a player in the industry, don't understand it, because they have a special way of saying things. Simple things, it might look very, very complicated. But I have to admit that I don't understand that project. I was there, but I don't understand it. So I need to find people who really understand what
Yeah.
that really means, and I can find out what the creative sector actually needs from that. As CSG, and also for my own creative sector, who is also struggling to get what we deserve from that. But I think the creative sector is a big player in the tourism sector, because we're not only trying to send to sell sea, sun, and sun, as they used to say. We're trying to sell culture, and this is why a lot of festivals are sprouting all over the country. And for us, the creative sector are a big player in that. Let us not forget the contemporary artists that are not, our types. Also, are a big part of this enterprise, that we need to consider that they are there. The Seruba Jalis, who constantly hear their songs on radios all over the place. They're not paying a
Videos,
dime
yeah,
out of
yeah,
it,
exactly.
or you hear them all over the place. So these are people that we all need to go and
Well, okay,
educate.
but
They
if
don't
your
only depend. They should
institution,
not only
if your
depend on
institution,
handouts. You know.
if your institution was paying Lalokeba now, then that would have been a lot of, even if it was like one play for 50 buduts, that would have been
Yeah.
a lot of money. Anyway, Uncle Esa, I think we have gone past the hour mark, and
Yep.
uh, I want to say, if you have any other pending issues that you want people to know about the Collecting Society of the Gambia, or if you have any other things that you wanted to say and you forget about them, you have the chance now to say that before we wrap up the program. Yeah, so.
Yeah, for now, with the collecting society, we are trying to move. It's not been very, very easy. There are challenges, but we think that with the support of everybody, particularly artists, we should be able to do this thing. But it is also the onus is on us to sensitize the artists, to share this information so they can understand fully, so we can start moving forward. And also, I do not want the government agency, the NCAC, to see us as a rival, as someone to fight with them. No, but we are trying to tell them, as I have said, I have told the Director General in his office, that it is their job to see that the artistic sector grows. And if that happens, then they get credit, because they say they did it. Even though if I am the one who is going to be making the millions, it is not going to go to anybody's pocket. But for the fact that they have opened the doors for me to make millions, they take the credit for doing that. And the government at large would say, we have created a sector, now people are making millions out of that. It is fighting
The
on
contribution.
unemployment, and now most of the youth are the contribution to youth unemployment. When the government say, "Oh, we're going to create 100,000 jobs for you," the easiest way is just touch the creative sector. You're going to create jobs in no time, and you're not even going to spend a dime. Just open the doors. This is what I want to tell the government and the politicians. It's a selling point for to canvas for
Yeah.
votes. But what I want to say is,
Mm-hmm.
this is a serious business, and more so, it is a human right. All right, they need to
Mm-hmm.
understand that if somebody works, if you toil for something, you deserve to be paid. Even in our
Mm-hmm.
religion, if you do something for our creator, he promises that he's going to pay you.
Mm-hmm.
That is it. So
Mm-hmm.
let people understand that this is the job of the creative sector, and they are entitled to be paid their labor. Nobody would go into a
Mm-hmm.
shop, pick up any product, and consume it without paying a thing. They are going to be taken to the police. So similarly, don't take an artist product, use it for your own benefit, and not giving back anything to that artist. I think
Mm-hmm.
that is unfair, and I think that needs to be put forward for everybody to understand. For now, let's watch this space. I'm going to be continue dialoguing. If I continue to be
Mm-hmm.
the CSG president, right now I am interim. You're supposed to go back and have a meeting to realize our positions. We couldn't do that. I was busy on the presidential tour throughout 3 weeks. I couldn't have time to come back and meet. And next time we meet, we are going to organize a congress where we're going to call all the artistic associations so that they can confirm us in our positions or remove us. So we would want to do that. So that's what I want to say for now as well. Thank you so much, Carl, for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Jallow, and for all the people who are doubting that the creative sectors of the Gambia could be an enabler for development, and they can contribute grossly to the GDP of our nation, you can have time to listen to Mr. Essa Jallow, the interim president of the Collecting Society of the Gambia. He has taken to us through of the money-making areas and the engagements that they are having with different government departments, and also the National Assembly and the Ministry of Tourism and Culture. We thank him so much for joining us today on GAM Music in Depth on Block TV, the Gambia. We want to say a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year in advance to all our viewers, and particularly the players in the creative sector of the Gambia. Until you come our way next time, I am your host, Kalilu Banja, and I want to say good afternoon to all of you and a happy Christmas. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Thank you,
Bye.
Mr. Essa.